Hello. So this is a video on how I practice pieces. This is Schubert's d899 number 2, so his impromptu in E flat major. So I just want to say how, in case you don't do this, which I'm sure you do anyway, it's a very useful thing to chop up your piece so that you can always get to the end of it. So whatever you're learning, learn the end as well, and then it's really fun to find how you might join the part that you're learning to the very end. So in this piece, obviously it's got a coda, and it's a very long coda. But every piece will have a, you can usually find a couple of measures, a couple of bars, which you can add on to wherever you've stopped in your piece. Without that method, I wouldn't be able to do any practice at all. So I just want to show you how far I've got with this incredible piece of music. It's such a miracle of music. I'm reading a book by Fischer Dieskau, the famous singer. It's the best Schubert book I've ever read. It's called A Biography of His Songs, I think. And you think it's going to all be just about his songs, but it's not just about his songs, it's about his whole life. And there's information there which I never read in any other book. It is not, I think, referenced, but I'm sure that it's true. So for example, the fact that the fact that Salieri is quoted as saying, der kann, der ist ein Genie, den ist ein Genie, den kannst alles, den kann alles, or something like that. I can't speak German, but he is a genius and he can do everything. Like that kind of minute information is there, and it all seems to be bona fide. It seems to be real. I mean, it's like another bit of information is how he apparently used to sing the mezzo soprano after he had lost his voice. He would still apparently I think it says in the music hall dining room, I think, of the music school in Vienna, which was run by Salieri. He used to have lessons with Salieri, I think, and some others. And he used to, because he still had a good voice, but apparently it was a slightly weak voice. It was not a very strong voice, but he was able to sing the mezzo soprano parts, and maybe the soprano parts, as well as the baritone and the tenor, and some other level of singing. But he was still able to do the soprano parts when the lady didn't turn up, but he was able to fill in. So that kind of it for the woman who didn't, the soprano who maybe didn't make it that day. All that kind of information is in this incredible book by Fischer Dieskau. So that's just about the book I'm reading. It's the best one about Schubert, and I've read lots about Schubert, lots of his books, lots of books about him. But this is a really great book. It's an amazing book, and such a wealth of musical insights as well, and quite interesting sort of general cultural things. Like he talks about how Germany at the time, apparently, in the time of Goethe and Schiller and people like this, they apparently used to like to think that there was a direct link from ancient Greece directly to the culture of Germany. It's lots of very interesting kind of one of the things which it made me think, talking about the Hellenistic poetry, I think it was, and the translations which should be made of that by people like I think Goethe was one of them. not sure, but these are people who had never been to. The Romantic poets had never been to Greece except for Byron. Byron, of course, swam the Bosphorus and things like that. He had been to Greece, but nevertheless, all these Romantic poets had, certainly the German ones, because I've also been reading a book about Shelley, which is quite interesting, and Wordsworth and Coleridge, and Yeats, and that is not very interesting, but it's interesting insofar as well, it's interesting because I never studied that period of literature, and I know a song by Rachmaninoff. And his voicing. This is dreadful. Anyway, that's supposed to be a Rachmaninoff piece, one of his very easy songs, which he wrote a grand total of 0. Even that very simple song is not easy. But anyway, that's called Ostrovok, which means little island, which is by Shelley. Of course, he married Mary Shelley, who wrote a book about some Gothic theme, which I'm not at all a fan of. But and also he wrote a book about atheism, which I'm also not going to be a proponent of, for which he was sent down from Oxford, I think. For that. Anyway, I've got water in my ear, so. But anyway, what was I talking about? So Romantic poets. What's interesting about the German Romanticism, according to what's his name? This Fischer Dieskau. I don't know if he's an authority on it, but he says that the German Romantic poets anyway, or German intellectuals anyway, thought that there was some kind of a direct line to Germany, in terms of sort of the way life was. I didn't quite understand it, but in any case, it's quite a fascinating book. It has weird stuff like that, but very thought-provoking sort of ideas. But the main thing is it talks a lot about Schubert, and that's what I like about the book. Lots of very interesting detail about what people had to say about him. There's also something which I found rather not very sort of worthy of joy about it. It's when Schubert says something. Oh yeah, it's when he's talking about his school teaching, and he says that he was trying to do his music in the classroom, and the boys and girls, I suppose the children anyway, were mucking around, and so it says he gave them a good beating, and I wasn't able to work again until I'd given them a good beating or something like that. And it just doesn't sort of strike you as it doesn't really it doesn't cast a great light on Schubert. But how did they get that information? Well, apparently it's what Schubert said to a friend or so, and so his friends were of course von Schubert, and who was his best friend apparently, and then Grillparzer, the poet, he knew. Meyerhofer, he knew, and he was a poet as well, I think. There was I can't even remember any of the names of the friends, but these were reminiscences of his friends. It seems a lot of the information that Dieskau gets are reminiscences by his friends. Oh yeah, and it talks about Teresa Grob quite a lot, and that's very interesting. Apparently, Teresa Grob was not a beauty. This is, and according to Schubert himself, she wasn't a great beauty. But anyway, he was really in love with her, and it was. But according to this other person, she may not have been a great beauty, but she was plump, and had a good figure. So I don't quite understand what that means. And she was a few years younger than Schubert, and in 1815, apparently Schubert was his most prolific year ever, and he wrote 115 songs in that year. I think that was the year when he wrote his Mass, the first Mass. I think it's in F minor, but I'm not sure. But it is it's got the most beautiful part in it. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard, and I think it might be in the Sanctus, if that's what it's called, part of the Mass. But it's really beautiful. Apparently, she sang the soprano part, and that's what endeared her to Schubert. Mainly, it seems to me. In any case, he wrote lots of, and Schubert's father bought him a piano because he was so happy with that Mass. His dad. And apparently he was sort of kicked out of the house for a while as well by the dad. And I haven't quite got it to the part of the book where it talks about that in detail, but it's mentioned that briefly. So it'll probably be talking about that later. But I never thought that would have happened. He was, or maybe it's already happened. And if that's the case, I think that would have happened when he was something like 13 years old. So I don't quite understand how that could be at 13 years old. I'm not quite sure what that's about. But in any case, talking about Teresa Grob is very interesting. Apparently he was unable to marry her because his social standing was not high enough. He never managed to get the posts which would have enabled her to marry him. And so she married someone else. But he kept his love for her even when he was much older. He also had apparently a love for Caroline Esterhazy, who was much younger. He had some sort of well, the way it's said in the book is that his friend, he liked it very much about Schubert that he really was in love with this girl, Caroline Esterhazy. I can't say whether that's, I don't know how old she was or anything like that, but obviously she was too young and of too noble a birth for it to be anything which could become a marriage or anything like that. But of course he wrote this piece for her. Apparently he said that everything he wrote was for her, because she complained that he hadn't written anything for her. And it was this fantasy. It's just that was dedicated to her, and how interesting it's a fantasy that he's directed, that he composed for her. I think that says something. Anyway, it's an amazing piece, that's for sure. It's the masterpiece of all four-handed pieces of music. Of course, I think the best recording I've heard is of the Japanese pianist and the what's that country called? And the Belgian pianist who met together in, I think, Amsterdam or something, and they got married. But anyway, they were a piano duo, and it's called the Krommelike duo. So his name was Krommelike, and her name was, I don't know, but they committed suicide apparently. So that's a tragedy. And anyway, that they do have the best recording that I've heard. I've heard lots of recordings, Richter and Britten and what's his name? That the guy who's died recently. Can't remember his name. He's got a famous one, and there are lots on YouTube. People like, I think, there are lots on YouTube anyway. None of which is good, particularly good, but there's quite a good one. There's one with the two twins do it, two male twins. It's quite good. But you know, I don't know. It's not. What's his name? That guy. Can't remember his name now. He's quite famous. I never thought he's particularly good. Radu Lupu, that's right, and I think Murray Pariah, who I also can't say that I had thought is that great either. I've seen Barenboim do the Grand Duo with Marta Agaric. I think it's the Grand Duo, which is another four-hand piece, which was also in his last year. And there's also two sisters, I think, who do the Liebers Stormia or something. But it's anyway, it's another four-handed piece, which is also very good. But nothing compares to that Schubert four-hand piece. So just now to go back to this d899 number 2, what I would recommend is going right to the end and stopping a little bit of, wherever you stop, just connect it to the very end. So I'll just show you how I do it to this amazing middle section, which is so different to the rest of it. Except the coda, which is pretty much exactly the same, but it's in a different key and all the rest of it. So, so it is in a different key. Okay, here we go. Just to show how I sort of how I learn a piece. So if I go from here, from the beginning, I'll go from the second minute. I'll go from the second part of it, so it'll be from here. Now we come into this Ben Mercato. Okay, so this is the bit I'm talking about, which I'm learning now. It goes like this. So slowly I hear, oh yeah. Oops. And now, yeah. Back to the beginning again. And then the F, yeah. And then back to the. And now this, instead of being on the G, it starts lower. That's how I try to learn it, just position the hands. And it's, instead of 2, it starts on the 1. And then C. Okay, and that gets me to here. Yeah, and then we're going to go to then, and then it's okay. And now this is on the C here, and then it's here, isn't it? And this F, it's a high. I call this the high F. It's again on the F, but now left hand will be on the, I call this on the weird one, so it's on the B, natural, very strange. And then it goes into this incredibly weird, this chord with that there, these two move over here. So it's now, and then deep down F. Yep. Okay, and then you've got this lovely, weird sort of thing going on here, which is there you go like that, okay, and then on the C, and this is going to go up to, and then down to a bottom F again, okay, and then again the F. This is a repeat of what I just did before. You see, it's exactly the same thing. Well, almost. So it goes down to a low one again. Oh no, a high one again. So now here's the weird one. This is an exact repeat, yes. This is an exact repeat. And then to this one, isn't it? So this, just these two changes. And then now here's the low F. Okay, and it's almost as it, or it is exactly as it was before. Yep. And now back to this again. So these are all repeats, you see. Getting ready. Okay, da, da, so down to the F again. Okay. Okay, so, but, what was, that's basically where I'm at, okay? But instead of doing that last, this thing, sorry, yeah, this thing here. Instead of doing that, I'm going to miss out that one and just go straight to bar 165, which takes me up to the very ending bit, which is like this. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so to show you here, I just played that, the lovely sort of, what is it, this, that thing there, okay. Yeah, this sort of thing. Yeah, that thing there. I did two of them by mistake, because actually what sounds best, if so I just do the first one and then stop, do that measure and this measure, stop there, don't do, stop at the here rather, don't do that next one, which is exactly the same as that, but instead of that one, go straight to here, because it fits nicely. So that gives me something to feel happy about as a semi-completed thing. Then you can do the whole impromptu, more or less. So I'll just do the whole thing, the whole impromptu with that kind of method. I'm going to go on to the coda at the end, okay, which is similar to what I've just played. Okay, so. Tiffany Poon does a very good run of this. goes down to